Hello, very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
A 6-year search for answers. An inquest opens into the death of a 15-year-old girl who was killed by a car while waiting at a bus stop.
The lifeline for domestic abuse survivors in Doncaster expanding to meet overwhelming demand.
The camp gives them time to relax, to think, what is my next step? I want to just enjoy watching my kids be kids.
A fresh start. Yorkshire County Cricket Club prepares for a new season with renewed hopes of promotion.
And the racing community rallies to support a North Yorkshire champion jockey who was paralysed in a fall. But first tonight, it's taken 6 long years, but the parents of a teenage girl who was killed as she waited for a bus hope finally now to get the answers they crave.
15-year-old Caitlin Dawson was waiting for a bus to college when, without warning, a car ploughed into the bus stop on one of Huddersfield's main roads. That was back in 2018.
Several people were injured. Sadly, Caitlin died in hospital just hours later. But it's only today that the inquest into her death has finally begun in earnest. And John Hill is at the coroner's court in Bradford. And John, just such a heartbreaking loss for Caitlin's family.
Lisa, that anguish not eased, of course, by the length of time they've had to wait for answers. Let's show you a picture of Caitlin. Her dad, Colin, described her as a teenager with a lot of energy. She was very vocal, he said. And he said, like any typical teenager, she could be stroppy. She was a talented dancer. She'd been dancing for many years, and her mum and dad took her to dance competitions all around the country. But her life was tragically cut short when a car, a black BMW, ploughed into Caitlin and others as they waited at a bus stop in Huddersfield back in January 2018. Well, today Caitlin's family were here at the Bradford Coroner's Court as the coroner began to hear evidence from witnesses who saw what had happened.
And John, the accident happened on Wakefield Road, didn't it? It's a very busy road. Lots of people must have seen what happened.
Lots of pedestrians, lots of motorists. In fact, this inquest is going to hear from a lot of them, and those that have given evidence already, well, they've wept. They were so traumatised were they by what they saw. What's not in dispute is that the BMW veered off the road and into the bus stop. In fact, the family chose to leave the courtroom temporarily, as for the first time CCTV footage of the moment of impact was actually played to the courtroom. You can imagine just how distressing that was. Well, one motorist said that the BMW approached a set of traffic lights on Wakefield Road, and she said it speeded up. It shot off through the red light. It took off like a rocket, she said. It carried on straight forward into the bus stop.
And John, what do we know about the driver of the BMW?
Well, the driver is a man in his 50s. He's called Richard Brook. Now, at the time after the crash, he was interviewed and investigated by West Yorkshire Police, but a decision was taken by the authorities not to bring any charges against him, not to prosecute him, after medical evidence was produced that he'd fainted at the wheel. Well, that evidence is going to be scrutinised at this hearing. Richard Brook himself will give evidence via video link next week. As for Caitlin's family, well, they say the only word that can describe the impact of their loss is one of devastation. Her father, Colin, said, "I don't think you can ever put it into words what it has done to us mentally and physically. We'll never get over it." This inquest is due to last 8 days.
John Hill, live in Bradford, thank you.
Next on calendar, to a woman from Doncaster who's made it her mission to help survivors of domestic abuse after suffering her own horrific injuries at the hands of her former partner.
Danielle Thomas had mirrors smashed over her head and was beaten with an iron bar by her ex. After escaping him, she opened an annual summer retreat for other survivors and their families.
3 years later, and the camp has been such a success, it's now being expanded into a permanent safe space for women and children. As Astrid Quinn reports.
Small space. We're going to have over in the corner the open front classroom. We'll have light down the sides for growing vegetables.
Danielle has big plans to transform this slice of Yorkshire countryside into a permanent sanctuary. Round the corner, she's already built a little piece of paradise in the form of a summer retreat, but is now expanding to offer a safe space all year round. the kind she wishes her family could have had after escaping domestic abuse.
The violence, the control just started to drip in bit by bit, and as time went on, things just started to get worse and worse. On the final time, I was held hostage for 3 days, tortured, some horrific things.
After escaping her abuser, Danielle was left with physical scars and mental ones too. However, she was determined to use her experience to help others.
Just thought when we first came to setting up the camp that there is good support out there for the adult side of stuff, and there is that little bit of support for the children, but I found that there was nothing to connect us back as a unit. The camp gives them time to relax, to think, what is my next step? I want to just enjoy watching my kids be kids while also being pampered a little bit.
3 years on from first setting up the camp, and things have gone from strength to strength. With demand soaring, Danielle is now opening a space to give families support with their mental health, as well as those who've suffered at the hands of an abuser.
We want to open up what we're going to call the paddock, which is going to be an outdoor wellbeing area for families to come and do craft activities, yoga, forestry school, just get back out into nature.
Vicky, whose name we've changed to protect her identity, suffered at the hands of her abusive partner for years.
As time went on, things got more and more controlling, like I couldn't be gone on the school run longer than 10 minutes without being questioned where I'd been. I got pregnant, and that's when he first laid his hands on me.
Vicky and her family eventually escaped, and they were able to spend time at one of Danielle's retreats.
How much of a difference did the camp make to you and your family?
The kids just had such a wonderful time. I felt safe as much as they did. I think it's incredibly amazing, the sort of power that Danielle gives back to women who have been in this situation where you are terrified to leave your front door, to then be able to come to a place where not only that fear is completely eliminated, but the kids can just be themselves and have fun like kids should be able to do.
Danielle hopes the new facility will provide that safe space for hundreds more in the near future, uniting women who share the same past, but also the same hopes for a better future. Astrid Quinn, ITV News, South Yorkshire.
Well, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in Astrid's report, you can find a number of support services on our website. Just head to itv.com/calendar. That's itv.com/calendar.
And this is Wednesday's calendar, and still to come, the racing club starting up to help fund the recovery of a jockey who was paralysed in a fall last year.
And the skies have been very busy across the region today. Bright spells trying to push through at times, but showers or longer spells of rain never too far away. All the detail for the rest of the week a little later on.
More of the day's news now, and a huge fire at a former school in Dewsbury is now being treated as arson. It broke out at the building in Birkdale Road just before 11 on Friday night. Fire crews from around the region fought to tackle the blaze, which took several hours to bring under control. No one was injured. West Yorkshire Police say they now believe the fire was started deliberately, and they're appealing for information.
Now, the mental health issues continue to have major impacts on the lives of former servicemen and women. More than half of those who took part in an NHS survey revealed they're living with or have suffered from a mental health problem.
Well, now an Army veterans group in Rotherham is urging them to speak out and to seek help from specialised services. Amrit Birdie reports.
Looking back at pictures from her time in the armed forces is bittersweet for Larissa. She loved serving, but the toll it took on her mental and physical health led to a downward spiral that at one point saw her become homeless. Today, she says she feels strong, but there are still times when she struggles to get out of bed.
Things that we're dealing with, we're not aware of, we haven't accepted, and we don't even know for ourselves. So how can we come to speak to somebody? We don't know what they're going to think, how they're going to look at us.
Larissa's battle with her mental health will be familiar to many veterans and service people, with the latest figures from NHS England showing more than half are struggling or have struggled with a mental health problem. The majority also said they found it difficult to talk about. These figures come as no surprise to John Moran, who helps run a veterans support group in Rotherham.
I try to explain to people, when you join the forces, you're knocked down. They take certain bits away and add the bits they want. When you leave, they don't knock you down, take their bits out and give you your bits back. It's thank you very much, bye-bye. Get on with life.
Once the challenge of speaking out has been overcome, a service called Op Courage is available to all current and former service people on the NHS, with veteran support now included in training for GPs. Op Courage was named by veterans to signify the courage it takes to come forward and talk about your mental health. Those behind the service designed it so you don't need a referral from your GP to access the service itself, in the hope of making it more accessible for those veterans and service people who need help and advice when it comes to their mental health.
What we've been trying to do is to reduce the barriers, to speed this up, and in particular before people perhaps develop problems with alcohol and drugs, maybe lose a job. And actually the longer people leave it, it's a bit like sort of if you treat a cancer later, it's often more difficult and the success rate is lower.
From April to November last year, there were over 4,500 referrals made to Op Courage, which suggests that mental health support remains one of the key ways we can help our heroes. Amrit Birdie, ITV News.
Well, now the ITV Evening News is continuing at 6:30. Let's take a look at what's happening with Lucrezia Millerini.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, remembered as heroes, tributes pour in for 3 Britons among the 7 aid workers killed in Gaza as pressure mounts on Israel for answers. Also, cost-saving reforms proposed by Royal Mail, but what could it mean for your post? And ever wanted to take a peek inside Balmoral Castle, the royal residence to open to the public for the first time? Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thanks very much, Lucrezia. Now then, shall we have a look at some sport? And Doncaster Rovers are making a late push for the League Two playoffs after beating promotion chasing Wrexham last night. Owen Bailey's first goal for the club was the difference between the two sides. Rovers have now won 5 games in a row, taking them up to 14th in the table and, crucially, just 6 points off the playoff places.
Now, we might still be in the thick of the football season, but the new cricket season gets underway on Friday, and for the first time in quite a few years, the focus is back on the cricket.
Yes, makes a change, doesn't it? The fallout of the Azim Rafiq racism scandal has meant Yorkshire County Cricket Club has been hit with heavy points deductions and struggled to pay hefty fines.
Now, though, with the sanctions firmly in the rearview mirror, it feels like a fresh start at Headingley, as Arif Ahmed reports.
There's been dark clouds hanging over Headingley over the last few years as it dealt with the aftermath of the Azim Rafiq racism scandal.
Big smiles.
Unlike the weather, though, things appear brighter ahead of the new season, with the focus this year solely on the cricket.
I think the players have been through a lot, the club has been through a lot, the staff over has been through a lot. So for us, it's a fresh start. We've done all the penalties. The club has made significant efforts. And look, cricket has to take the spotlight this year, and hopefully it does, and we can bring some silverware and we can get some promotions this year.
Really, really nice picture.
The aim is to be promoted back to Division 1. There's been no new marquee signings, but the squad has been bolstered by England internationals Harry Brook and Joe Root, being available for the opening weeks of the season.
Those boys bring experience back as obviously great cricketers, but also as great people as well. Having those boys around, you look at Rooty, ex-England captain, comes back with obviously a wealth of experience to a group who's quite young actually. And see how Brookie trains and lads sit back and go, he actually works so hard, and that's the reason where he is.
It's not just the men hoping to improve on last season. After failing to retain the Rachel Flint Trophy last season, the Yorkshire Diamonds want to experience that winning feeling again.
the girls have been training really hard in the East End over the winter and have had a trip to Mumbai as well, and I think they're all very prepared and ready to hopefully put on a good show this summer, so hopefully we can bring back one or two silverwares this year.
If the Diamonds are to sparkle this year, they'll need bowler Katie Levick to put the opposition in a spin. An experienced player in a young squad, she enjoys the responsibilities that come her way.
I want to be the one that stands up and Holly turns to and knows, right, we need to change something in the game, and I want that to be me. A really competitive person, and I've just always loved taking wickets, so I'll selfishly want to be the one that's leading wicket taker at the end of every season, because that's what spurs me on.
With both men's and women's teams raring to go, they hope this year they can be picture perfect. Arif Ahmed, ITV News.
We're looking forward to the start of the cricket season.
You love your cricket,
I do like some
don't
cricket,
you?
but the weather's not feeling much like cricket weather at the minute.
Well, it likes to keep us on our toes, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like yesterday we had a decent dose of sunshine for the afternoon. Today we've definitely had a few showers in the mix. Dramatic skies certainly from Worksop to Filey. This was Clumber Park in North Nottinghamshire earlier on today. Big thank you to Stephen Bradley for sharing. Looks gorgeous, very dramatic. I'm sure if you were right under it, you'd have known about it. And this was, of course, on the East Coast there, Filey this afternoon. A big thank you to Tracy Roberts. And you can see those two locations during the course of this afternoon as we started off with some rain, then it dried up a little bit, and then we had those showers lining up and pushing north and eastwards. They are pushing out of the way now, but there's another dose on the way as we head into the early hours, so pretty short-lived.
Tell you what, I've had a sniffly nose.
Have you had a little bit of a sniffle?
Yeah, why is that?
Something's on the rise.
Uh-oh.
It's that time of year again. Even though we've got showers or longer spells of rain in the mix this week, particularly after showers where we get warm sunshine, especially towards the end of the week. I mentioned it yesterday briefly. We could be getting high teens, maybe 20 Celsius, pretty short-lived for the weekend. But with warm sunshine, particularly after a downpour, you get the pollen rising in the air in our lower atmosphere, so we breathe it in. And it's birch pollen at the moment that's on the rise. This is our pollen season calendar, so we don't often show you this. The lines you can see is where the pollens would be released, and then the lime green boxes you can see is where it peaks. So you can find birch on that left-hand side halfway down in the tree pollen section, and yeah, just about on time, kicks off late March, early April. And lots of it to come, of course, in the distance between now and August, and of course we'll keep you posted on that. So yeah, if you're having symptoms, it could be the tree pollen.
Makes me want to sneeze just talking about it.
I know, it's not nice, is it?
No, thank you very much indeed, Kerry. See you shortly. Now, the family of a Grand National winning jockey paralysed in a fall have told how they kept expecting him to get back up, as he'd done so many times before.
Yes, Graham Lee, who won the National exactly 20 years ago today, came off his horse last November.
Well, now the racing world has come together to raise money to help get him back to his home in North Yorkshire. Greggy Steele reports.
Graham Lee had pretty much done it all and won it all in horse racing. This is him riding to victory in the Grand National exactly 20 years ago today. But that glorious career came to a sudden and painful end last year when a fall in the starting gates at Newcastle Racecourse left him paralysed from the neck down. 4 months on, his family have been talking for the first time about the day when a sport in which he'd won so much almost cost him everything.
Robbie rang me and I was just like, it's fine, he'll get back up, because I've always had faith in him, and he's always been okay. And it's so weird because you hear about stories like this and you think, oh, the poor family, I can't imagine what they're going through. And then when it happens to you, you're like, it didn't feel like him, but we were still talking to him all the time, and we didn't leave his side, so he still had us.
And for such an active man to be so inactive, it must be hard.
So there's no change in his condition. We're hoping that he'll get to Sarge soon, but I'm sure anyone that knows Dad know that he can be stubborn at times, so he's determined.
He's got his personality back, would you say?
Definitely got his personality back. He's cracking jokes all the time. He loves his friends coming to see him, some fellow jockeys, and reminiscing on the old, especially the jump days. He loves talking about the jump days.
His mentality to keep pushing is admirable. I mean, he's trying to stay positive as much as he can. Obviously it's tough, but he's staying as positive as he can, which is the main thing.
Life goes on though, and racing goes on, and now the racing community is backing this horse to help pay for Graham's care.
It hit home to everyone, and it really made me think, and others think, to try and get the wheels in motion.
But you're hoping you've picked a winner here?
I hope so. As you can see, she's got a great mind and a great attitude, and yeah, I've had a few sleepless nights thinking if I have picked the right one. But look, she's a lovely filly, and it's all very exciting.
Still in hospital, Graham said he's humbled at how the sports vowed to help him. His children hoping this horse's wins might now help fund the next big victory their father's fighting for to get back home. Greg Easthill, ITV News, North Yorkshire.
And of course, we wish Graham and his family all the very best, don't we?
We do.
Now, before we get Kerry's weather forecast, there's just time to tell you about another of our exclusive reports on our streaming service, ITVX. We're taking a look at a project which is revitalising the countryside in part of North Lincolnshire, where a pair of beavers have been reintroduced 400 years after they were hunted to extinction. The mammals are part of a wider scheme near Brigg to encourage native species to flourish and also to help shape the local environment.
All of these water bodies are really vital habitat for many, many different creatures and species. They also provide ecosystem services by slowing the flow of the water. I think they could potentially be a really important tool in terms of making us more resilient to climate change. Yeah, both with the extremes of weather that we're now experiencing.
And there it goes, plop. And it's really easy to find. Just go to ITVX, just click onto the category News on the navigation bar, scroll down the page, and as long as you have calendar as your region, you'll see the report right there. Do enjoy it. Now, Lisa Adlam has been talking about this all day because she tells me she's got a beaver fact.
I have got a beaver fact because I actually went and filmed that and met Hannah, who was just a font of knowledge. And my beaver fact is that Beverley is, in fact, from the Anglo-Saxon for beaver clearing in the woods. And if you take a close look at the town's crest, there's a beaver lying by the water. So there you go.
Well, I've found out something new. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing your piece.
Here's Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, the messy mixture continues over the next few days. This morning it was unsettled first thing, cloudy, misty, murky and damp. A little bit of brightness for the afternoon, but also a few showers and showers or rain always in the mix over the next few days and nights. Warmer air, yes, but stronger winds. So this was the story today, that rain pushing northwards. Still quite a lot of cloud behind it, one or two showery outbreaks developing. The best of the clear conditions coming through this evening. And yet again, we look to the southwest for another weather system pushing its way in later. So the best of the weather conditions coming through the next few hours. A brief, drier, slightly clearer spell before the cloud thickens once more. The showery outbreaks of rain get going again into the early hours. So again, light winds, cloudy skies, misty, murky conditions and some dampness as we head towards dawn. Now, this fantastic picture was taken over the Easter weekend. A big thank you to Rita Hill for sharing. But as we head into tomorrow, not quite as pretty. Cloudy, damp, misty and murky to begin. And for tomorrow, for Thursday, bit of a north-south split where we get the brighter breaks. The temperatures will lift, but in turn sparking off one or two sharp showers. The winds will be relatively light, but there will be an onshore breeze, and so where we're stuck under any cloud or directly at the Yorkshire coastline, it will feel a little bit chilly and temperatures will struggle to get to double figures. Another system working its way in during the early part of Friday, but clearing quite quickly to sunshine, and this time on Friday, blustery showers. The winds will start to pick up, but highs in the brighter breaks up to around 17, possibly 18, 19. Certainly in southern parts of the region on Saturday. It's a windy weekend. Yes, it will be mild, but also sunshine and showers.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, keeping me on my toes, that forecast this week.
Definitely, changing so fast.
On and off, yeah.
Oh dear, well, warming up for the weekend, so that's good news, isn't it? That's all from us for now. Lisa will be back later, of course, after news at 10.
Yeah, at 10:30. We'll see you soon.
Have a good evening, good night.
Bye-bye.